Will Dymatize have enough power remaining in its growth story to make up for some predicted Premier Protein headwinds from a product recall? So, I'll get to my thoughts around that introductory statement a bit later in this content, but as I normally do with my quarterly financial content of publicly traded functional CPG brands, I will use the recently filed earnings report, the earnings conference call, and any kind of relevant publicly disclosed news. In this case, it's for Bellring Brands in their fiscal 2022 quarter three to obviously update you on the performance of the brands in that portfolio, but also use it as a backdrop to discuss market insights within the active nutrition formats of liquids, powders, and bars. That being said, let's start with some revenue numbers. Net sales for Bellring Brands this quarter was $370.6 million. That was up 8.2% year over year and also up 17.6% on a quarter over quarter sequential basis. Looking at sales by brand, Premier Protein had net sales that were up 7.3% year over year. This was coming from a pretty substantial price increase because the brand did have volumes that were down 9.4% year over year. If we just isolate the Premier Protein RTDs, that product category for the brand had net sales that were up 6.3%, but again, associated volumes were down 9.6%. Looking at Dymatize Nutrition, that brand had net sales that were up 16.8% year over year. They had considerable volume declines in the quarter, though, of 28%. And I'll give some more detail later in this content about why both Premier Protein and Dymatize struggled from that comparative volume standpoint. As for the other brands, which is mostly Powerbar at this point, those net sales were down 1.1% year over year. Over the last 12 months, Bellring Brands sales were made up predominantly from Premier Protein at 81%, Dymatize made up 15% of the total revenue, and then the other brands made up the remaining 4%. Another way to break down the sales over the last 12 months for Bellring Brands would be by product format. Revenue mostly comes from protein RTDs at 80%, powders are 16%, and nutrition bars and kind of other formats are the remaining 4%. In terms of the last 12 months of revenue by sales channel, Bellring Brands does extremely well in the club channel with 53% of its total revenue. Food, drug, mass makes up 26% of revenue. E-commerce is 12%, specialty is 8%, and the other channels account for the remaining 1%. Bellring Brands is mostly a domestically focused brand portfolio with 89% of the last 12 months of revenue coming from the US market. I want to shift this content into kind of two deep dives as I normally do. I'll start with the Premier Protein RTD shakes before moving on to the Dymatize protein powders. Overall, the RTD liquid subcategory of convenient nutrition has shown extremely strong growth during the pandemic era compared to historical rates. This effect is starting to fade though, as the last few months are trending closer to the historical rates of the mid single digits. This has given Premier Protein a strong wave to ride, but capacity constraints combined with strong comparatives from fiscal 2021 have started to challenge the brand, which you can see across all the major track channels over the last 13 weeks of performance. The club channel is flat and mass retail is just up slightly, but grocery, drug, and e commerce channels are all down in the teens year over year. Consumption trends for Premier Protein RTDs were also down 2% year over year, which was a repeat of last quarter. Shipments were stronger as production capacity constraints lessened, and the brand was able to produce 20% more RTD protein shakes compared to the previous quarter. Household penetration for the entire Premier Protein brand is 7.3%, which has fallen from the 2021 calendar year. The brand continues to have strong upside as the RTD liquids category of convenient nutrition household penetration is only at 25.5%. This is compared to more than double that for the convenient nutrition category overall. Premier Protein market share returned to growth this quarter, reaching 19.2% of the total RTD liquids category of convenient nutrition. This is primarily related to total distribution point gain from a slightly improving out of stock situation. Shifting this content towards the Dymatize Nutrition protein powders, for me, it's kind of really been a pleasure to watch the turnaround of this legacy sports nutrition brand over the last few years. 2020 was a year of change for the entire world, and Dymatize really embraced that mentality and challenge and is now benefiting from that evolution. The brand has seen huge consumption gains across almost all sales channel over the last 13 weeks and is now the top selling or the second ranked sports protein brand in most of its key retailers. Mass retail was up 55%, grocery was up 62%, and e commerce was up 20% year over year. The only blemish is the club channel that was down 45% in the last quarter. And a sharp declining number like that really makes me believe that they might have lost a comparative merchandising slot in either Costco or Sam's Club in 2022 for the brand. Overall, even though the brand was facing some very strong comparative numbers from the fiscal 2021, total dollar consumption sales of Dymatize still grew this quarter at 21%. Powders are becoming more mainstream, and the category proliferation has created an environment where more consumers are purchasing performance nutrition positioned products at grocery stores and mass retailers. This is a central reason why total distribution points and the all commodity value percentage for Dymatize are still sitting at kind of all time highs for the brand, even with the brand and really the whole industry kind of facing supply chain challenges. Bellring Brands leadership has stated that Dymatize will begin to ramp up marketing and promotions in the next quarter to drive further demand. Let's shift into a quick Bellring Brands operational update. Firstly, the gross profit margin in the quarter was 32.4% of net sales, which was up 10 basis points year over year and up huge sequentially at 480 basis points quarter over quarter. The gross profit margin improvement was driven by pricing increases, but offset by anticipated higher milk based protein costs for the RTD shakes and the ready to mix powders and the kind of macroeconomic supply chain inefficiencies. The protein commodity markets are looking like they won't really be rebalanced until mid to late 2023. So, Premier Protein will be instituting even more price increases that will go into effect in the early next fiscal year for Bellring Brands. While Premier Protein shake production was higher, as I kind of mentioned earlier, Bellring Brands is still dealing with robust supply constraints. Because of that, the brand is focused on increasing inventory, fill rate, and trade inventories, and not introducing new flavors or restarting marketing and promotion until at least the middle of next fiscal year. This will obviously create revenue growth resistance for Premier Protein in the short term. But I just want to kind of end on some quick final thoughts and talk about another potential headwind for the brand. This was what I was mentioning in the introduction. One of Premier Protein's contract manufacturers issued a voluntary recall due to a potential bacterial contamination. The potential contamination could be the same bacteria responsible for stopping the production of Abbott's baby formula earlier this year. You remember that? It's kind of caused a ton of havoc on the supply chain for baby formula. But in total, 53 products were affected. Not all of them are from the Premier Protein brand. This recall also affected brands like Oatly, Redcon One, and Stumptown Coffee, just to kind of name a few of the brands. So, how impactful is this product recall to the Premier Protein brand? So, in general, product recalls can significantly affect a company's bottom line and its reputation, but swift action and restitution to purchasers can minimize harm to the company. From what I saw, Premier Protein was quick to act and transparent about the product recall. They have focused communications on restoring and strengthening the company's reputation and the reputation of the product in question. Because of that, I don't think long term material issues to brand or product equity will be seen by Premier Protein. Now, I hope you enjoyed this YouTube video. If you did, consider hitting the like button to support me. Also, help me get to my short term goal of 2,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button. I'd love to see you join me on this journey, but we need to fix the fact that slightly less than 70% of you that are watching this YouTube video right now are not subscribed to my channel, and that makes me extremely sad. But I do want to thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.